Hey everybody, it's Betsy from Story Drawing Skills. As you may know, I saw this video by Super Death Show saying that I should make a webcomic, and it convinced me that I should make a webcomic. And I did it! It took like 3.5 years, but I did it! And I learned a ton along the way, which was kind of the whole point of Super Death Show's original video of why you should make a webcomic in the first place. However, knowing myself very well, by the time I start making my next webcomic, I will probably forget all of the things I learned in this 3.5 year experience. So, to use the phenomenal, amazing technology that we have today, I am going to make like a video letter to myself. This would be like the disclaimer portion of the video. Not professional advice, guys. I am blundering my way through this and just trying to take notes along the way. But, you know, if I share something that kind of resonates with another comic maker, that would be the best thing ever. And so that's why I feel like there's no harm in sharing what I've learned so far. So, you ready? Okay, we're gonna go. Here's number 1. We're gonna start off with my little pat on the back. At the very beginning of this project, I had one true goal: to finish a comic so that I could experience what it was like to finish a comic. Having that goal in place became like my guiding star, my compass. It just kept me on the path in a purposeful direction. It helped me to make decisions on the fly really easily because I tend to be somebody who's super indecisive and super overthinks everything. But when I could just go back to, does this help me make this comic? It was way easier to make decisions and do that kind of stuff. Also, around the 2-year mark, I think, I had friends kind of say like, you know, you haven't really worked on it. Why don't you just quit? And I could go back to, but the point of it was to finish. And so that was like my armor against any kind of negativity or giving up. Also, you know, just to kind of help with the ego, because not gonna lie, there's a lot of artwork in this webcomic that I hope I will never see again because it is really shoddy, but it got done and that was the goal. Counterbalance to that though, if I just wanted to finish, I could have done the comic with like stick people or, you know, just like scribbled and made ridiculous decisions that way. You know, I could have made things be a little hard to understand or not double check my spelling, things like that. I did have a deal breaker, something that I would not let slide, that I would not compromise on. I was really a stickler for looking at my panels and trying to find any places where the story was interrupted or got just kind of bogged down by something. Some examples might be the balloon order for the dialogue was in kind of weirdly placed so that you'd read them out of order. Not gonna happen on my comic, not on my watch. Another might be if a character appears on the right side of a panel and then looks like they teleport across the room in the next panel. Like things like that are just kind of jarring and you're going like, whoa, what happened right there? That don't happen when that's my deal breaker there. That just drives me up the wall when it happens in my work. So I make sure to stop, even if it means, you know, like slowing down my progress on my one true goal. I gotta go back and correct that kind of stuff. So there's a little bit of a balance there that you have, you know, a goal that you're really running hard and fast towards, but then also a deal breaker so that, you know, you have something that you can be proud of also, that, you know, I compromised on all these areas, but you know what? I really was strong and determined not to compromise this thing that was important to me, you know? So yeah, I liked how that worked during the Trium report, and I will definitely do that again. Now let's go into something that was not quite as successful. As I said in pretty much every intro to every comic vlog about the Trium report, my original estimate of how much time it would take me was 6 months. And hear me out. Here's my original math, okay? It sounds good on paper. You got 6 months. Let's say there's 30 days in each month just to make it easy. That is roughly 180 days. If I'm only making 100 panels, that is less than a panel per day. That is only 3 or 4 panels per week. I could have had 3-day weekends for like ever and still gotten it done. Super reasonable, right? But it ended up taking 3.5 years. Why? Why that? What happened, Betsy? You may be asking yourself or not, but I'm going to tell you why. Every single reason. Low energy levels, schoolwork, regular work, mental health, physical health, changes in priorities, family stuff, friend stuff, disorganization, my deal breaker, which I previously mentioned, misplaced files, accidentally deleted files, corrupted files, social obligations, video games. I'm going to say that one twice. Video games, because that's kind of my crutch when I'm not feeling 100%, let's say. Reading other people's webcomics, binge watching TV shows, just doing research on the stuff that I had to draw next, which will come up a little later in this video. All those reasons, every single reason that is not making your comic, that is going to happen when you make your comic. So really, I should have taken that first estimate of 6 months and times it by like 3 or 5 if you're going to document your progress along the way. Because also, not in that list, but it took time to make the videos for YouTube, to voice them over, to record my work. Every time I had to save the video, that took time away from me actually drawing. It's a whole thing. So yeah, make your best estimate, like something that sounds really good on paper, times it by 3 to 5, and that's going to be your real amount of time that you spend on your work. The next couple of things all generally fall under like artwork preparation, like visual development, production art type stuff. So I could just say like, do your artwork preparation, the end. But I do want to point out some really specific things, particularly with the main characters. Like if I follow no other advice, this is the advice I'm going to follow. Number 1, I'm going to draw a 3-point turnaround of every main character. For Treum Report, this would have been my 3 girls in my barrier repair squad, as well as the main monster that they were fighting. Just having a view of the front, the side, the back, in full body. Can't even tell you how many times I had to go searching previous panels, trying to find what did I draw Clarice's shoes like? What did the back of Socorro's uniform look like? What arm does Kess wear her weird arm thingy? Had I had reference, that would not have happened. So next time, future Betsy, definitely do your model sheets. Do your turnarounds as part of your model sheet. Don't forget, this is number 2, draw the 8 most common head angles. I saw a YouTube video by Alex Wu who was talking about storyboarding, I think, at the time when he was demonstrating these 8 most common head angles, but I figure, storyboards, comics, kind of almost the same domain there, so certainly it wouldn't hurt to do the 8 most common head angles as on model as I can, so that if I have to take a 6-month break and I come back, I still know exactly, how their face is going to look in these 8 most common angles. Then there's all the other preparation. This is going to include backgrounds. I know, like now with Clip Paint especially, there's some kind of 3D program. People are just using models and using a trace over filter or whatever. If that's your jam, awesome. For me, having to draw all of those rock backgrounds, I draw weird looking rocks in my opinion. And somewhere in my mind I thought, well, as I practice, I'll just get better. But it's one of those things where if you mindlessly draw weird looking rocks 100 times or for 100 panels, you don't get better that way. You only get better through like conscious practice or, purposeful practice where you are trying to level up your skills, not just repeat the ones you have. And so I have nothing but weird rocks. So, next time if I'm doing a webcomic and it takes place in a forest, I am learning how to draw trees, bushes, mushrooms, rocks, moss, squirrels, like anything that happens in that forest. I want to have at least drawn it once, just to know what it's like, instead of just drawing weird looking trees and having that happen throughout the comic. Right along with that, this is kind of the same thing, but maybe not. I knew Clarice was going to use elemental magic, like fire, water, air, rocks, which I already mentioned were weird. She ended up not using air at all, but I knew she was going to use fire and water. So why on earth did I not practice drawing water and fire? Like, I had no idea how to draw water or fire until it came to the panel where, well, this is where she releases all the water. Gotta learn how to draw water. Here's the panel where she uses fire. Guess I'll have to learn how to draw fire. And it was just not a great feeling to be faced with something that I've never drawn before and it's going to go into the panel. And the only thing that was keeping me on track was, I'm just going to finish. But yeah, next time I would like to have a little bit of basic knowledge of drawing whatever is going to happen in my comic. Like, whatever the props and environments are, just try to draw them a couple times before it actually comes to that panel. Next is kind of a workflow thing that I realized through this whole experience, which was the point of the experience. But I did not realize how many different versions of the file would be created. And yeah, it got crazy, because I would have the original sketched file in Fire Alpaca, and that's where I did my lines and my flat colors. So I would have at least 2 files in Fire Alpaca format, just for like backup purposes. Then I would have to make one Photoshop format so that I could add in my dialogue, my sound effects, my glowing filters, stuff like that, which, Fire Alpaca doesn't have. So now I've got at least 3 files of this one panel. Then, all done with the artwork, time to post it on the interwebs. But, as we all know, different websites, different requirements, or different restrictions. So let's say I want to post on DeviantArt, well, that's going to be one big file. But if I want to post on Tapas, that's going to be lots of little files. Yeah, it's a lot to keep track of. Not to mention you need a thumbnail if you're on Tapas or, Webtoons or whatever. They have that little chapter thumbnail. So it's a lot of files. That's what I'm saying. It's a lot of files of basically the same thing. So, for the trim report, I thought I was being a genius by having a really solid folder structure. So I would have a folder for Photoshop, folder for Fire Alpaca, folder for large JPEG, folder for little JPEGs. And I would name them all basically the same thing, like panels 10 to 15 or panels 27, whatever. What happens though? One day, you go to your folder to open up, I don't know, the Photoshop file of panel 87, and it's not there. So you're like, great, is it in here? No. Is it on the desktop? No. Is it on, I don't know, my external hard drive? No. Is it in the downloads by accident? No. And because it's named the exact same thing in every folder, even if I do like just a general search on my computer, where is panel 87, it's going to come up with like 10 different versions, and I'm not really going to know what's what until I like look at them one by one. It was ridiculous. It was not smart. It was a practice that I won't repeat again. Let's not be negative. It's just, you know what? I'm not going to do that again. So instead, I would advise my future self to use the file name more descriptively, like use some kind of abbreviations for what art program, identify what it is, identify what stage it's at. Like, are these the flat colors? Is this with text? Is this, the big JPEG, a little JPEG, all those things. Put it in the file name, because then you can at least search for it when it's not where you expect it to be. The next one comes with sort of a little story, because much to my surprise, Trium Report was chosen as a featured new comic on Tapas, like on their homepage or something, which boosted the number of followers I had very quickly, and I did the worst thing possible. I stopped posting for whatever reason I listed before, probably school or work, and I just basically killed any kind of opportunity that Lucky Break was setting up for me, right? Because let's just say hypothetically that somebody who was in a position to offer me a job or in a position to sign me up to, do my webcomic for money or whatever, as soon as they see that I stopped posting, obviously that's a bad sign. You're not going to hire an artist who doesn't post consistently. So even if there wasn't a job offer in there, just having these people all say, hey, we're interested, we want to see what happens next, and then for me to wait like 6 months before I post the next thing, well, by then everybody's forgotten about it, the momentum is lost, whatever lucky break I might have had, gone. So next time, future Betsy, maybe finish the whole thing first and then release it to the public, or at least get half of it done, 80% of it done, so that you could be writing on this once a week post for, many, many weeks before you would have to actually do your, draw your next post. The next one is kind of a reminder that 80% of your best work is your consistent best? Let's take this in like a metaphor of an athlete. Let's say Usain Bolt. He holds the world record for the 200-meter dash at 19.19 seconds. Do you think that every time he attempts to run 200 meters, he has that exact same time of 19.19 seconds? No, that's a world record for a reason. And unfortunately, with art, if you happen to have a super good day and you do some amazing work that you love, we have this feeling that like, oh, everything we do from now on is going to be this great. At least I do. So having that percentage remind me that if it was 80% of what I thought I was capable of, that is 100% fine for this webcomic. But, you know, there's going to be days that you can't work on your webcomic for whatever reason, and there may be times of long periods of inactivity. Definitely true for the Dream Report. So next time, if I have these long gaps between actually working on my webcomic, I think I'm going to keep drawing and keep doodling my main characters at least. Because every time the Trium Report went through a long period of inactivity and I would try to come back to it, number one, I would forget how to draw my characters, and because I didn't have a model sheet, it was just ridiculously hard trying to make them look like they were supposed to look. And two, sometimes I just felt like I had forgotten how to draw, period. So yeah, that happened a lot on the Trium Report, and it just wasn't a good headspace. The next time, yeah, just keep drawing your characters, pretend they're like friends, get together once a week and just draw them on napkins, back of envelopes, doesn't even matter. But you just gotta keep using those drawing muscles, or, you know, you don't use it, you lose it. Another trick I really like, and I think I mentioned it in my other comic making vlogs already, I love leaving instructions for myself, that if I don't feel like I can work on it today, I still open up the file and I write little memos to myself like, hey, fix the thumb on Kessa's hand, or, you know, move panel 37 lower on the page than it is right now. Just little things like that, just like little memos you might write to your assistant if you had one, so that the next time you open up the file, no question on what you're supposed to do. You just read your note to yourself, okay, you work on that. Lastly, future Betsy, I'm not going to tell you how to party when it's all over and you've completed yet another webcomic, but pick your rewards carefully. After I finished the Trium Report, I rewarded myself with a video game, and it kind of stabbed me in the back because for the following, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't really want to fact check that. I played a lot of video games and I didn't do a lot of drawing. You know, I think if I had given myself something that would help me make my next webcomic, that would have been a little cooler. That would have probably propelled me into my next project, and that would have been fun. But, you know, you live and you learn. So next time, no using video games as a reward for finishing a comic, you know, just buy video games for other reasons. So yeah, that's about it for this video. Just a little reminder to myself of the lessons that I learned from 3.5 years of drawing 100 panels of webcomic, thanks to the persuasion of Super Death Show. I learned these lessons the hard way, but I'm really looking forward to using what I've learned in the next project, and hope you guys will also take on the challenge too, because you really do learn a lot, way more than you ever would in art school, by just doing it yourself. So yeah, good luck, good comic making.